What you're referencing is something I mentioned in the book called the founder's effect, which is basically the first person to introduce us to a topic naturally becomes the expert in our minds. And so what I mentioned in the book is that as an adult, I own my own home. I currently live 1,500 miles away from my parents. However, my dad is always the first one I call whenever I have a home repair issue. Now, that's not because my dad is the expert on these things. In fact, there's a lot of stuff he doesn't know. And in my neighborhood, I have really skilled HVAC technicians and plumbers and electricians, but I always call my dad first. Why is that? Because in my mind, my dad is the expert because he was the first person to ever teach me about home repair issues. And so if we want our children to come to us when they have questions or concerns or confusions about things regarding sexuality, we have to make sure that we are the ones that talk with them about it first. And so if we wait until, they talk about something on the playground, or hear something, from another child in Sunday school, or they see something on a show, or a teacher exposes them to something, what we then have to do is we have to go into backtracking mode, and we are no longer viewed as the expert in our child's mind. So we want to make sure that we have the first of many conversations about the goodness of God's design for sexuality before our children are exposed to anything in the culture. And so what this means is that we need to start talking with our kids about sexuality at a much younger age than we thought we needed to in the past. So in the book, I recommend that parents start having the first of many sex talks with their children around the age of 4 or 5, which I know probably causes a lot of people, just to intake their breath. But the amazing thing is if we have these conversations starting at a young age, our kids are naturally going to view us as the experts. Then we're also exposing them to the goodness of God's design before they've encountered a corruption from it. For example, on my block, I have many neighbors who I know and love, and one of the couples on my block is a gay male couple. It's 2 men who are living together. And so if I had children, I would want to make sure that I talked with them about the goodness of God's design for marriage even before they understood that these 2 men were living together in a romantic relationship. And so it's so important that we start these conversations early. And the one real positive thing about starting these conversations early is that there's only one person in the conversation who feels awkward, and it's us. At these young ages, our little kids don't feel awkward when we have these conversations with them.